Hey guys, it's Skylar and welcome back. Today is another basic video all about contouring, highlighting, and blush. So if you're interested, then please keep watching. So when I finally get to the point in my makeup routine where I'm starting to apply the contour and the blush and the highlight, the very first thing I do is apply contour and then my blush and then my highlight. I just think it layers the best that way, but that's totally up to you. I just like how it looks when you contour first and then apply everything over the top, because the whole point of contouring is to sculpt your face. So I find that it's best for me to sculpt my face out first and then apply a little bit of color and then go in and highlight my face to really draw attention to certain features. That's totally up to you, but that's just how I prefer to do it. With that being said, there are a ton of different contouring products out there. You can get a cream, there's powder. I know people will actually go in with like a darker concealer or foundation and they'll put that where you're supposed to contour instead. I mean, it's really up to you. I have a couple of different contouring products here in front of me to show you. For someone like me with pale skin, you really have to be careful with contour and bronzer, because if you go in too heavy-handed or you get a certain kind, you can come off looking orange and you don't really want to do that. 3 products in front of me here that I think are worth mentioning. The very first thing I have is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cream Contour Kit. This is in Fair. There's a couple of different shades that they have. Obviously, I got Fair. So this is a cream contour. I don't use this very often, and when I do, it's if I'm going for more of a natural look. I usually will put this underneath my foundation, and then when I apply my foundation over the top of it, it gives you a really natural contour. I just don't like how it blends out on top of the skin. It could be the brand, I'm not sure. I don't have any other cream products, so I'm not really sure, but normally I'll go with this and I'll put it underneath my foundation if I do anything. The next 2 bronzers that I have are the Hoola Benefit Bronzer, and this is one of my favorite bronzers to use, but I also have to be really careful with it because if I go in too heavy-handed, it ends up coming off orange. I do know that Benefit came out with another one called the Hoola Benefit. I think it's the light Hoola bronzer, and that's more geared towards someone with fair skin like me. So I would recommend maybe purchasing that instead. I'll link it down below so you can check it out. I think that these blend out really good, so I would recommend this to anyone. And then the very last thing I have is the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil Bronzer. And this is what it looks like. This is the middle shade. There's 3. You can get the light, then there's the medium, and there's dark. I personally went with the medium one. I felt that the light one was almost chalky, and I just thought that this shade worked a little bit better for me. And the thing that's nice about this is it's a little bit more cool toned, so if you're fair, it works more with your skin. It's really up to your preference. If you're worried about going in with bronzer, you're unsure, then I would maybe recommend this product because I think that it's a lot more wearable if you're worried about coming off as being orange. The other thing too is there are a ton of different brushes that you can go in with to contour your face. So in front of me, I have the Morphe M438 brush, and this is a dome brush. I use it in almost every single one of my videos. I love this brush because it fits so well in the contours of my cheek. However, you can go in with a fluffier brush. You can actually go in with a brush like this. This is an e.l.f. brush. I got it at Target. I don't know what it is specifically, but this works really well for getting into the contours of your cheek. However, the issue I found with this is that it really only works if you're stamping on product. I found that I didn't get as nice of a blend when I was using this to blend out my contour, and then I was getting harsh lines. So I love this brush. And the next brush I have is the E4 brush. This is an angled fluffy brush. I will usually use this for the sides of my forehead and the middle of my forehead. But if you wanted more of a diffused bronze look, you could totally go in with this into the contours of your cheeks as well and get the same effect. So like I said before, the whole point of bronzer and contour is to sculpt your face. So it gives you maybe higher cheekbones, or it gets rid of that double chin. It makes your nose slimmer. It decreases the size of features and makes the appearance of them smaller. So for me, like a big problem area for me is my forehead. I have a pretty wide forehead, so I contour the shit out of the sides of my forehead and the middle. And I also like having more of a defined cheekbone, so I will contour the sides of my cheeks as well. And I do a little bit on my chin because I just think that my chin comes out a little bit, but that's all up to you. I am going in with the M438 brush, and I'm going in with the Chocolate Soleil bronzer, and I'm gonna pick up a little bit of this product, and I'm gonna tap off the excess. And like I said, you wanna kind of work a little bit at a time with the product, because if you go in too heavy-handed and you put on too much, there's no turning back. So I put on a little bit at a time, and I just slowly build it up. And I have been doing this for so long, I just kind of know where I like to put the product. But if you're not sure where the contours of your cheeks are, you can kind of make like a fish face, and that shows you where the contour of your cheeks are. So I will start at the top of my ear, and I will bring it down, and then I will just kind of blend this back and forth in a windshield wiping motion, and then I will diffuse it in circles once I get that product laid down. And I'm going in with a light hand. You don't need to press down hard on your skin. That's just gonna give you wrinkles. And I just slowly diffuse the product. I personally like to go straight down with my contour. I just think that looks really sharp, and I love that look. But if you're looking for more of a feminine look, you wanna feminize your features, you can actually curve the end of your bronzer going up, and it'll give you the appearance of rounder cheeks. And so if you're going for more of a feminine look, you can totally do that. I just like the straight cut down look. And I'm gonna blend this out, and I'm actually not gonna go in with any more bronzer. You can see that it's pretty pigmented on my skin because I'm so fair, so I really don't go in with a whole ton of bronzer because otherwise I look orange. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side, tap off the excess, and then start at the top of my ear and bring it down. I don't go too far down because then you kind of look like a puppet. And when I get that product laid, I slowly blend it out in circles. And it just gives you a really pretty diffused look. You can move the line of your contour up and down depending on what you're going for. Like if you want the appearance of higher cheekbones, you can totally put the line higher up, and it'll sculpt your face and give you that illusion that you have higher cheekbones. I don't do that. I like my facial features, so I don't bother with that. And then I go in with a little bit more, and like I said, going on my chin right here. And then I will go in with that Morphe E4 brush, like I said, and I'll take a little bit more of that contour, and I go on the sides of my forehead, and I bring it down to connect to that contour we've already put down. And this will make your forehead look slimmer, and really blend it in towards the hairline so you don't have like a white line going around your face. And I will really take the time to blend this out. And then I will take some more, and I will put it on the center of my forehead. I will leave this part of my forehead alone just because that's where the light hits. And if you contour that, it'll look weird. It will look unnatural if you do that. You really only want to contour the areas where you have those natural shadows. All right, so that's it for contour. Sometimes I contour my nose. I don't always. I might do a separate video just about contouring your nose because I feel like there's a lot of information to do it in one video. You can leave your contour as it is. I personally like to have more of a sharper, defined jawline. So what I'll actually do is go in with some loose, translucent powder, and this is the Pretty Vulgar Powder Room matte powder, and I'll go in with a damp beauty sponge. This is just what I use to apply my foundation, and using the flat part of this sponge, I'm gonna go in with some of that powder, and I'm actually gonna bring this along my jaw, not over where we put the contour, just like right below it, and that'll give you a really crisp looking defined contour. We're gonna wipe off the excess afterwards. I know there's just like this white powdered line here. Don't worry, we're gonna get rid of that afterwards. But I just love how it makes this look a lot more defined. I love doing this when I do like a grunge look. I just think it looks really pretty. If you want though, you can leave it like this. You can leave it really diffused and blown out. I just like to have that sharper edge. So now that I have the powder laid, I'm gonna leave it there for a couple minutes before I wipe it away, just so it does kind of crispen up the edge of that contour. But in the meantime, I'm gonna actually go in with blush. There are a ton of different blush products. I personally would recommend getting a palette. This is the Morphe 8W Warm Master Palette. I love this palette. I think it's really versatile. I think they have a cool version of this with cooler toned colors. I just love the warm tones. I love the orange and the pinks and even the browns. I would recommend getting a palette so you have a range of colors. This Morphe palette is nice because it has some shimmer and then some matte. So I think that this palette is really versatile. If you're someone who is maybe new to makeup, this is really affordable. I think it was like 20 bucks. So I would recommend getting a palette, but if you're not interested in that, there's always the individuals. This is the Urban Decay Fetish Blush. They have a ton of different shades. Blends out really nicely. I love this blush. I also have the Note. This is the Desert Rose number 5 blush. It comes with a little brush underneath in here. I don't use it, but if you're maybe on the run, it would be good. This is extremely pigmented, so you have to be careful with it. I personally will always use a matte blush unless I decide I'm not going to apply any highlighter. Then I'll go in with more of a shimmery blush to draw attention to the tops of my cheeks. But for today, we are applying highlighter. That's the point of this video. So I'm going to go in with more of a matte blush. I'm going to dip into this orange shade, and it is the shade Provocative. And I'm going in with a Morphe M523 brush. You can use any brush for your blush. You can go in with a fluffier brush. This one's a little bit more dense. I like to pack on kind of quite a bit of blush. Really, it's up to you. You can go in with a fluffier brush, or you can apply it with your finger. I've seen a lot of people do that. People will go in with lipstick too, so don't think that you're limited to just a blush palette. You can go in really with anything. I'm gonna take some of that shade Provocative, and I'm gonna tap off the excess, and starting at the apples of my cheeks, and if you're not sure where the apples of your cheeks are, you can smile, and you can see like right here is where the apples of my cheeks are. And I kind of will pat that on, and then I will slowly blend it into the contour that we have. And I always blend up. You never want to blend down. That'll draw your face down and make it look almost droopy. You don't want that. And then something that I like to do, and this is just personal preference, I will go in with a tiny bit of that blush, and I'll put it on the tip of my nose. I just think it looks really cute. And then you can see that because I'm so fair, it comes off really pigmented on my face. So I go in with a fluffy brush, and I just brush away some of that product so it doesn't come off as being so like orange. Now what I'm gonna do while we're here, I'm gonna take the same fluffy brush and brush away that powder. There are a ton of different highlight options you can go in with. Now the point of highlight is to draw attention to features on your face. So if you have a big forehead, you're not going to want to put highlight at the top of your forehead. That's just going to draw attention to it. You'll look like the moon. It's not a look. Same thing with like the contours of your cheeks. You're not going to want to put highlight in the contours of your cheeks. It draws attention to it. Or like if you have a double chin, you're not going to want to put highlight there. There are palettes. There's individual highlight. They have liquid highlight. There's highlight with sparkles in it. There is a ton of different products. Now, some of my favorites are the Too Faced Candlelit Glow Highlighter. I love this because it gives you such a subtle glow. You can see that in the pan there is like a pinky highlight and a white highlight. I don't notice a difference in the shades when I pick up the pink compared to the white. They literally look the same exact thing, so normally I'll just blend them together and throw them on my face. There's also palettes. This is one of my favorite palettes to use. This is the Tarte Twinkle of the Sea Volume 2 palette. I think that it's gorgeous. I love the 2 lightest shades, and then I can't really wear the 2 darker shades because it's too dark for my skin tone, but I like putting them on the lid occasionally as eyeshadow. I think that's really pretty. If you're someone who maybe wants to play around with colored highlight, then I would recommend the Anastasia Beverly Hills Aurora palette, and it has a lot of different colors, and it looks like they'd be too extreme to put on your face, but I promise you they're not really, like, they're pigmented enough to see the color, but they're not over pigmented, so it's not like you're putting on like a dark blue eyeshadow on your cheeks. No, it's like a subtle color that you can see. There's also individual highlights. This is the Urban Decay Afterglow highlight in the shade Sin. There's a couple of different shades of this one. I got the lightest. It's like a champagne-y shade. And then, like I said, there's a lot of liquid options too. A couple of my favorite highlighters though are the Cover FX Glitter Drops. This is in the shade Nova. It's a really pretty gold. And then I also have the Cover FX Custom Enhancer Drops, and this is in the shade Celestial. You know I love this. I put it in my foundation. I use it as highlighter. I use this for everything. I love this. And then my last favorite liquid highlighter that I have is the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Liquid Frost, and this is in Frostbite. This is gorgeous. I love this shade. It does have a little bit of, I wouldn't really call it glitter, but this is really pigmented. Like, you have to be careful. I put on way too much the first time I used this, and it was like all over my face. So you got to be really careful with the liquids, just because like you can get messy really fast. For today though, I'm gonna go in with the Tarte Twinkle of the Sea Volume 2 palette, and I'm gonna go in with this light shade here called Skylight. And there are a ton of different brushes that you can use for highlight if you want. I personally go in with the Morphe M310 brush, and this is a fan brush. You can go in with any fan brush. But you can also go in with a smaller brush like this. This is the Morphe M501 brush, and there's also the Morphe M510 brush. And these are like smaller brushes that you can use that will really highlight the top of your cheeks if that's what you're going for. I personally, though, like to go in with a fan brush. I just like that it diffuses the highlight a lot more than a rounder brush like that. So I pick a little bit up at a time, and I tap off the excess, and then I apply this right to the very tops of my cheeks. And I try not to take the highlight really high up into the hairline, just because we did apply contour there and it kind of defeats the purpose. And then I apply a tiny, tiny bit to my forehead here. I don't like to bring this too high up just because, like I said, I do have a pretty wide forehead. I don't like to draw too much attention to it because that defeats the purpose of the contour. And then what I'll actually do is go in with a really small Morphe brush. This I got in the 702 set. But any small brush will work. If you have a small, you could even go in with one of the round brushes like this. I like the size of this one, so I'm going to take up a little bit more of that highlight, and I'm going to apply that to the very tip of my nose. And I will usually tap it with my finger afterwards, just so it's not really bright. And then I'll go along the bridge of my nose. Same thing, tapping that with my finger, and then my Cupid's bow. And right here underneath my eyebrows, and that's just to kind of draw attention to them because we love eyebrows. The other thing too that you might want to invest in if you have never used makeup before in your life, you're not sure what to get, you can actually get palettes that have it all. This has blush, it has contour, it has highlight. So if you aren't sure about makeup, or you've never used makeup, or maybe you want to try a little bit of everything, this is the Sephora Spice Market Blush Palette. They have a couple different ones. This is just the one that I purchased. It has a lot of different shades. They have the matte contour shade right here. And then, unfortunately, with this palette, the rest of the shades are shimmers. But I think that a palette like this is good if you don't know what to get, because you have it all in this palette. You have the contour, the highlight, and then the blush. So that's something to think about too if you're shopping for, you know, highlight, bronzer, blush, you're not sure what to get. You can always get a palette with it all. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this helps some of you in the makeup department. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Enjoyed, and I will see you guys in different kinds, and even there's hundreds products for bronze.